Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your true heel phenom, SP3. We are live on Sportskeeda Wrestling, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook for the WWE WrestleMania Backlash Preview. I am here with my esteemed colleague from WrestleTalk. He is a man known by many different monikers: Chopper, Corporate, Q-Tip, but I like to call him the quintessential stud muffin of WrestleTalk, Pete Quinnell.
That's a new one right there. I don't think I've ever been called either of those words in my life before, but thanks. Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about WrestleMania Backlash.
Of course. The best name for a pay-per-view that WWE can come up with since Great Balls of Fire is WrestleMania Backlash. But yes, if you are watching us on YouTube, drop us a like, share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel, smash that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified. If you're watching on Twitter or Facebook, drop us an expression, a like, a heart emoji, a laugh emoji, an angry emoji. If WrestleMania Backlash really grinds your gears, let us know and tag a friend in the comments, in the live chat, so they can watch along. And we want to know your predictions for WrestleMania Backlash. So let us know in the live chat. We got a couple of people in the live chat already. We got my good brother, Brett Thomas. He's the Paul brother campaign manager. He says it's SP3 again. He's been on Powered 4 and WrestleTalk already, and I'm with one of WrestleTalk's own. So this is a great place to stop by. Thank you, Brett, for joining us. And of course, right on cue, he says the big news is Jake Paul is coming to AEW. Pete,
is it the big news? Is that the big news? Is that the news that anyone really cares about?
Hey,
am I in the minority here?
You have a hat on, so he might say "got your hat" to you. So you never know. You never know. But we got a 6-match card for WrestleMania Backlash, which is this Sunday, live on the Peacock Network, WWE part of the Peacock Network. And it's got a pretty decent matches on the lineup. Me and Pete were talking about it beforehand. We're more interested on one side more than the other, but we want to know what you're interested in. Let us know in the live chat, because this is all about your guys' engagement. Well, we're going to kick things off, Pete, with a big one. For the WWE Championship, it's going to be Bobby Lashley defending the title against his the former champion, the man he versed at WrestleMania without the Backlash, Drew McIntyre, and another challenger in Braun Strowman. These three men have been feuding for the last couple of weeks. Drew won a triple threat with Braun and Randy Orton to become the number one contender. Then it was Braun Strowman that defeated Drew McIntyre to gain entry into this match. Bobby Lashley has gotten a victory over Braun Strowman. We saw a no contest between Drew and Bobby this past week on Monday Night Raw. But this one is definitely going to be a heavyweight slugfest for sure. Who do you think wins, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre versus Braun Strowman this Sunday?
I hope that Lashley retains out of this, because I think the WrestleMania match between him and Drew, I think a lot of people were maybe anticipating Drew to get, because the main thing going into WrestleMania, everyone was saying that how they wanted Drew to have his big WrestleMania moment and winning in front of the fans and all that stuff, and he didn't. Bobby just straight up beat him. No shenanigans or anything, just a straight up victory, which was actually really cool. And when it happened at that time, I was like, actually, you know what? I think I probably prefer him retaining than Drew winning it back. That's actually probably better. And now that he's done that, I want him to have a really long, meaningful reign, and not. I'm glad they didn't have him be the interim champion from, Miz cashing in Money in the Bank to then Drew winning it back at Mania. I'm glad he wasn't just like the interim guy there. And now that he's beaten Drew at Mania, I want to see him carry that on and not drop it. Also, I'm genuinely impressed that you managed to remember all the weird interactions that these three have had in the build up to this, because there's been a lot of them and not many of them have been very good.
Can't say it has been. I mean, Monday Night Raw has been probably the worst it's been in quite some time. And that says a lot when you look at the year-to-year ratings and the decline that it's gotten. But It took a lot for me to remember everything that's going on between these gentlemen, but I agree with you. I think Bobby Lashley is the guy to win this Sunday, keep his run going. He needs this kind of run of dominance to kind of solidify himself as a main eventer for years and at least for months to come, at the very least. But there's a lot more that they can get out of his championship reign. What do you think, Pete? We haven't heard you a lot. You've been off from WrestleTalk, but what's your thoughts on the latest rumor that Drew McIntyre might be in line to feud with his former 3MB member after WrestleMania Backlash, Jinder Mahal?
That's probably my full thought on it. Jinder's fine. All right. I don't hate Jinder, and I don't hate the new act he's got with the two guys that are with him now. Yeah. It's all fine. I'd be happy if Drew gets into a feud that isn't for the WWE Championship, because that's what he's done for ages now, since like winning the Rumble last year, right? That's pretty much his WWE Championship has been his whole thing for ages and ages now. So it would be refreshing for him to feud over something that isn't the title. And against Jinder, it makes sense. They have history, and I'm sure it will be okay. There you go. I don't think it's going to be great. I don't think it's going to be terrible. I think it will be fine if that's what they end up doing.
Yeah, and he's versing two big guys in Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman, and he's feuded with the artist formerly known as Retribution, or as I like to call them, Biracial Ascension. And now he's going to be feuding with the Singh brothers with the Mario mushrooms. So Shanky and was it Era or Zero?
Wasn't it Veer or something like that? I think.
Vera. Yeah, it's Vera. Yeah. I like the Shanky name. The Shanky name I'm never going to forget that. That's just.
Didn't they typo it as Skanky when they on Twitter?
I think they typoed it on Monday Night Raw as Skanky. You gotta love WWE.
Hilarious.
We got in the comments here, John Elite, he also agrees with us. Bobby Lashley is going to get the victory. We got David Brown on Facebook saying Bobby. We got Pratik saying Booby Lashley wins. And then he also thinks that maybe Jinder wins Money in the Bank. Do you think that we're going to get the Money in the Bank winner on the Raw or the SmackDown side coming out?
Oh, man.
Since that is the next pay-per-view.
Okay. I feel like, I have some complicated thoughts about this one, because I feel like there are a bunch of people on the SmackDown side who would be really good, worthy winners. And I feel like there's a lot of people who are kind of in that, maybe in the Intercontinental title scene, or some people like, I don't know, Chad Gable, who's just kind of a little bit in the tag division scene. People who'd be really good with the briefcase who could win. However, I don't want to see Roman Reigns involved in a Money in the Bank cash in, like, oh, when's he going to do it kind of thing, because the end of Roman Reigns' reign should be a big kind of climactic one-on-one singles thing at like a big show kind of thing, and it shouldn't be cheapened. And I know you could probably get some good heat off that if someone being like, oh, but it could end really cheaply, and then they don't do it. Maybe that would work for someone like Sami Zayn to hold the briefcase, and maybe he goes in to try and get the Universal title in an opportunistic way, and it doesn't work out for him or whatever. I do feel like that would be a bit of a waste of the briefcase, because we haven't had a proper briefcase guy for ages. The closest thing we came to was Miz, but he didn't even win it. He had to win it off Otis, and then he had it for ages and didn't do anything with it, and then he cashed it in, and then he got it back again, and then cashed it in, and it was successful. It was just all really bad and confusing. So I just kind of want there to be a good, solid Money in the Bank winner who goes in and cashes it in later down the line, and it's all at that, and that's what Money in the Bank should be. That it, in the initial years of Money in the Bank, that's what it always was, and how it was always protected and stuff like that. Kind of want to go back to that, and I don't want Roman to be involved in that. So I think it should probably go on the Raw side, though I have no idea who I'd put it on if it was on the Raw side. Couldn't tell you.
I mean, the best person right now with the best act is tag team, Randy Orton and Riddle. So I can't see either one of them. Maybe a Keith Lee returning and going after Money in the Bank. That could be interesting. But
that'd be great.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting elements that can come out of this, but I think we all agree Bobby Lashley is the right guy to win the triple threat for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania Backlash. So let's move on to the other side of the spectrum, Friday Night SmackDown, where we have the one half of the WrestleMania 37 Night 1 main event, the new SmackDown Women's Champion, Bianca Belair. She's going to be defending against the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion in history, Bayley. This match was set up and announced on WWE social media after Bayley made the challenge to Bianca coming out of WrestleMania. And she's basically been following up where Sasha Banks left off, kind of talking about Bianca's lack of experience, being a rookie, and how she is the greatest SmackDown Women's Champion of all time and the greatest Women's Champion of all time, saying that she's better than Lita, Trish, Ivory, Molly Holly, and of course the SmackDown Women's Champion herself, Bianca Belair. So who do you think wins this one, Bayley versus Belair?
It's got to be Belair, right? I would be stunned if Bayley won this one, because such momentum coming out of WrestleMania. What brilliant match that was between her and Banks, and they got to continue that momentum on with Belair having a really good, solid reign here. And I think that Bayley challenging her is a good choice. She's a very strong competitor, someone that if Bianca does beat her, that's a really solid stepping stone. That's another feather in the cap of Belair's reign. I do worry. Who else could she possibly feud with? Carmella? I guess. So I think my worry for this match is that it will end in a DQ, or it will be some sort of dusty finish, and it will be and the feud will extend for another 2 months yet before we even get some proper conclusion, which I really don't want to happen. But I'm hoping privately that like Carmella on last week's SmackDown just got a very quick victory over Ruby Riott, and I'm hoping that was a way for them to kind of position Carmella as a future challenger for Belair after she beats Bayley. I don't know whether that's going to happen, but I feel like just having a continual feud against Bayley, which we already saw last year as well between Bianca and Bayley before the title. I don't know if we want to see that long feud again. I'm hoping this is just a Bianca wins and moves on, hopefully.
I would hope so. I do agree with you, Bianca Belair to get the victory here. But I honestly, as you were saying that, it actually sounds like that might be where they're going. I think they might do at least like another month, maybe at Money in the Bank with Bayley and Bianca Belair. And plus that leaves Carmella open because we talked about how Money in the Bank really hasn't had a consistent, briefcase holder in such a long time. It's been since Carmella in 2017 into 2018, where we had a consistent briefcase holder, and putting Carmella in the women's Money in the Bank will create a contender that could go in there and potentially win there and set her up to go against Bianca in the future. So I can see Bianca winning this one, but I could see it happening in a nefarious way where Bayley has some talking point. And I just wanted to mention this, Pete. I know you have mentioned it before on your SmackDown podcast over on WrestleTalk podcast channel. Check that out. Go over and subscribe. Bayley has not won a match to set this up. Like I don't really. I think it's been since March that Bayley has scored a pinfall victory on SmackDown. So do you think that Bayley is kind of just a placeholder type of challenger, or do you think like they could have done more to kind of build her up?
Oh, yeah, they definitely could have done more because currently Bayley's got this weird thing where she just laughs at people, and that's her gimmick now, I guess, which isn't really, the full build that you'd want for a proper SmackDown Women's title match. So, yeah, they definitely could have done more. I do think that it's good that Bayley's kind of being treated not like a joke anymore, because she was for a good few months after a feud with Bianca finished. She was just kind of there and not really doing anything. And it's good that, she's being treated as a legit threat for the SmackDown Women's title. And, she stood tall on last week's SmackDown and things like that. So that's good. They definitely could have done more. Definitely could have done a more contendership thing. Use some of the women they've got on the show that are actually pretty good and not getting that much airtime. But, I don't know. It's all just fine, isn't it? Like it's a good choice for Bayley. But yes, they absolutely could have done more to make it feel a bit more special.
And that's what makes me think that they're going to do something where Bayley loses, but has at least an out to talk about. and then she wins some type of number one contendership. Since she didn't win it to set up this match, she'll win a number one contendership to set up her match at Money in the Bank against Bianca, similar to what they did with Drew and Bobby Lashley, where Drew just got named the challenger for Bobby at WrestleMania without winning a matchup really, and then he won a number one contendership to set up this match. So we know WWE has a playbook. They have a playbook that they go by, and they might run this play again.
yeah, absolutely. I didn't even consider it, but you're completely right.
And in the matchup that I think that me and Pete can officially say it's the match we are least interested in because we've seen it so many times since the month of January, it's going to be a lumberjack match as Damian Priest goes one-on-one with The Miz. This is follow-up from WrestleMania where Damian Priest teamed up with my ethnic celebrity chief, Bad Bunny, to get the victory over The Miz and Morrison in what I've been calling the greatest celebrity performance in WrestleMania history. And yes, I'm counting Ronda Rousey. I love you, Ronda, but yeah, Bad Bunny got you beat. And Damian Priest has been feuding with Miz and Morrison since then. He lost to Miz and Morrison in a handicap match the Monday after WrestleMania. He then has beaten John Morrison over the last 2 weeks. This past Monday, he beat John Morrison to make the stipulation a lumberjack match to avoid Miz from running away from him like he's been doing ever since pretty much January. Yes. So who wins this one? Damian Priest versus The Miz.
Who cares? It's Damian Priest. I hope. God, please don't have Miz win this. It has to be Damian Priest to win this one. But really, it doesn't matter because, like, WrestleMania didn't matter. You know, Bad Bunny got his spots in. You know, hit the Awesome Destroyer and all that stuff. But the feuds carried on afterwards. So it's not the win means nothing really. They're just still going at it. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that this is the end of this, where Priest can just beat Miz, and he'll say he's beaten Miz, he's beaten Morrison, and then he can just move on and do whatever else he wants to do. And as much as I'm completely with you, I think the Bad Bunny stuff at WrestleMania was absolutely fantastic. Absolute home run. I wasn't expecting that much out of it, and it was absolutely amazing and awesome and great. They haven't stopped talking about it since, and it's been a month. Just let it go, man. It was great. And now you can go do your own thing as Damian Priest and not Bad Bunny number 2. You know, just go do Damian Priest things because you're a really good wrestler. Yeah. So I'm hoping Damian Priest wins and then he moves on to other stuff. Maybe he goes in the Money in the Bank next month. That would be a great use for him.
I would love that. I mean, I do agree with you that Damian Priest kind of has to win here.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed, please, so he can just move on to bigger and better things. I don't think Money in the Bank. I actually think that he would be the perfect guy to go against Sheamus for the U.S. Championship because he's kind of been treating all of his challengers as jokes. He had the kind of the freak accident with Humberto Carrillo on SmackDown. I mean, on Raw this past week, he kind of went through Mansoor after Mansoor was like 49-0, and then he loses by disqualification in his Raw debut. But I feel like Damian Priest has been built up very well, and he would be an interesting matchup for Sheamus to follow up from this.
That's actually a really, really interesting idea because I think their kind of combined styles could be a really interesting mix. With Sheamus with kind of his hard hitting style, and Priest, you know, can mix it up with the best of them in terms of hard hitting. Yeah, I think that's actually a really interesting theory. I quite like to see that now. Now you've mentioned it, I'm all on board.
Awesome. And speaking of Damian Priest, we got in the comments a good morning from Puerto Rico. Hey, good morning. Roy 2 says, I see Lashley winning and Roman wins with the help of the Usos. We will definitely get into that. Pratik says Daniel Bryan wins Money in the Bank, maybe. That would be an interesting return for Daniel Bryan. What do you think about Daniel Bryan's contract expiring, Pete, and where do you see him showing up next?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think he's going to go elsewhere. I think he's probably going to come back to WWE at some point, but I want them to do his return properly. I don't want it to be like, and Daniel Bryan's back, which is kind of what they did for Sonya Deville with the whole loser leaves WWE thing. She just showed up on SmackDown. It's like, she's backstage now. So I really hope they do it justice. And that kind of does mean that he's forced to go over to Raw. because he's been banished from SmackDown. So if they were going to keep continuity, maybe he should go to Raw, which I don't really want because Raw's a bad show. Yeah, winning Money in the Bank could be an interesting one because that could be like he's not really on a brand, because it's like a cross-brand thing because you've got people from Raw and SmackDown in the match. You could just come in the match as like a surprise entrant and could be like, well, I'm not on SmackDown. I've just got the briefcase. And he could sometimes he could be on SmackDown, not like having matches or anything, but just be there with the briefcase, like taunting Roman, just being like, I'm still here. Not on SmackDown. I'm still here, just so you know. That could be interesting.
That would be. I never thought of that, so that's a good idea right there. We got Ryan on Facebook says Monday Night Raw, NXT or SmackDown if John Cena returns at this year SummerSlam. So I guess he's asking us which brand do we see John Cena returning to if he comes back at this year SummerSlam. I would love to see him on SmackDown. I said myself, I think when me and Alex on Wrestling Daily, we did our predictions for WrestleMania 38 card. I said John Cena versus Roman is the best bridge to Roman versus The Rock at 39 in Los Angeles. So I feel like SmackDown would be the place for Cena.
I'd love to see Cena on SmackDown. I think he'd probably go to Raw just because, one, they need more time to fill on Raw. And two, they're probably looking at the ratings being like, he might be better off actually bumping those ratings up other than the SmackDown ones that are actually doing half decent. So, yeah, I think I'd want to see him on SmackDown. I think it's generally a much better show, and I think he could be used in much more effective ways on SmackDown. Like, I think if he did come back, he would go to Raw.
I kind of see that as well, especially with the below average ratings that Raw has been seemingly getting since WrestleMania. That would make a lot of sense. We got Brett Thomas predicting that Bianca defeats Bayley. We also got John Elite agreeing, saying Bianca to retain. Just think it's too soon for her to lose the title. We definitely agree with you there. And we got Rambo. Rambo says a wrestler in the 70s would have smashed Bunny up and thrown him from turnbuckle to turnbuckle like a bloody great seagull. You think Toddy would have let him do that crap?
So I think that's supposed to be Roddy for starters. Sure, but also it was very fun. So
exactly. We love the fun, and to be fair, Roddy let Mr. T do an airplane spin to him. So I'm just saying, we've had celebrities in the wrestling business even back as far as the 70s. But we gotta move on, Pete, to our next matchup for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, the Dirty Dawgs of Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode versus the father-son duo of the Mysterios. This one, it really doesn't have that much build to it. We saw this past week on SmackDown that Dominik defeated Dolph Ziggler after Dolph kind of talked down to Dominik, calling him a 16-year-old. Dominik did correct him on Talking Smack, saying he's 24, even though he doesn't look a day over 15. But the Mysterios have been building up to this, really talking about them becoming the first father-son duo. The Dirty Dawgs have done a great role of being like the heel tag team to kind of be the anchors since winning the titles from the Street Profits. So who wins here, the Dirty Dawgs or the Mysterios, Pete?
I'm really hoping that the Mysterios win this one. I think it's about time the Dirty Dawgs lost their titles because they've held them for a little while, not done too much with it. It's not really their fault. They don't have that many tag teams going on SmackDown. They have about 4. And they retain their titles on the SmackDown before WrestleMania, which I was surprised at. I thought that was going to be the time where the titles changed hands, which really does make me think that now is the time where they actually are going to change hands. They've been building up this whole father-son tag team champions thing for a while. And I think that would genuinely be quite a nice moment for them to win the titles together. It'd be quite good as baby faces. And also it then sets them up to potentially face the Usos, which I would be all for. So yeah, more of that.
And 100% with you. I know we've agreed on most of these matches so far, but this is the one that I am 100% going to piggyback off of what you said. the Mysterios need to win the SmackDown tag team titles. I think the division needs a little bit of a refresh. We just saw Jimmy Uso return last week, and the Usos versus the Mysterios with the family storyline that's been building up with the Usos and Roman Reigns to verse the Mysterios. You can get a couple of months of good matches between those two teams because I feel like their styles really would mesh very well with each other. And then we can logically move from there to a Mysterio versus Roman Reigns type of feud. So I 100% agree with you. Now is the time for the Dirty Dawgs to drop the titles. What have you thought overall of the Dirty Dawgs as these kind of like placeholder champions in between the long run of the Street Profits and then potentially losing the titles to the Mysterios?
I have mixed feelings on the Dirty Dawgs. I feel like they, as Dolph and Rude, have done their job that they needed to. Their promos have been fine. The wrestling has been pretty good. Like, they haven't messed up anything in particular. I'm just not really into the act at all. That I didn't like their rebrand as the Dirty Dawgs. I didn't like their new theme music. Like, I'm just not into the act of them at all. They do some stellar work, but I'm not all that keen on them as a duo.
I totally understand, and it seems like WWE didn't like their new theme either, because I would have sworn they've been coming out to Dolph's theme the last couple of weeks as well. So they was like, let's scrap that. Let's throw it to the side. Let's just go with Dolph's theme. That's the one we're used to. We got Anthony Bruno in the comments saying, good morning from Washington. Hello. He says, I see Bobby Lashley retains, Roman retains the Universal Championship, Bianca Belair retains the SmackDown Women's Championship, hashtag LLC, hashtag LLP, rest up Caleb Jackson. Very long comment there. I love it. I love the passion there. We got Gregory Taylor says, Braun Strowman versus Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. And to be honest, I don't know who will win. We think Bobby Lashley, but yeah, it could go either way. You could potentially see WWE doing stuff 1 month later than it should have, with Drew McIntyre winning the title. Can you think that's a possibility, Pete?
It genuinely, they could. They could have Drew win it here, and they could protect Bobby by not having him be involved in the decision of the match. Alternatively, they could just have Braun win. Why not? Just throw it in there, and he'll probably pin Drew, and it will be really bad. I don't know. They could do anything, genuinely, in this match. Like, we can make all the predictions we want about things that they probably should do and things that would make sense and things that would lead to the next step logically in the story. But they could just do anything, because they have done so in the past. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if any one of these three people win. And I just hope that it's not bad.
Fingers crossed. I mean,
that's what you can hope for.
We've seen good matches with Drew and Bobby. I really have never seen a bad Drew and Bobby matchup from Impact Wrestling to WWE. So I think that this one, with the addition of Braun in there, just minus the train sounds, just have him run around, do big moves. I think that this match will be a lot of fun. But like I said, I just think Bobby Lashley is the right person to win. We got a difference of opinions in the comments. We got Pratik saying Dolph and Rude win SmackDown Tag Team Championship. And then we got John Elite saying the Mysterios become the first ever father-son to be champions. So I agree with you, John Elite. I think that it's time for the Mysterios to win here. And then we just got Pratik saying the WWE Tag Team division sucks.
I mean, combine the two divisions, have them float like the women's ones, and it would solve a lot of problems. Still wouldn't fix everything, the treatment of them and things like that, but it would solve a lot of problems if they just had more teams.
Hey, honestly, talking about that, excuse me, the Mysterios win on Sunday. I would love to see the Mysterios versus AJ and Omos. Imagine Rey Mysterio going toe-to-toe with Omos.
That's so good, yeah.
Just give me that. Give me that, WWE. Forget whatever you're going to do on either side. Give me champion versus champion at Money in the Bank.
See, what you need to do as well, to sell me on that match, all you got to do is just have Omos stand there and Rey Mysterio just walk up to him and then just look up. And I'll be sold. That's all you need to do. And I'm like, yes, I'm in. I'm here. Let's do it.
You could totally see almost just launching Rey into the air for that sky high he does and just slamming him down. Oh my God, that would be awesome.
That'd be great, yeah.
We got next up another championship match, Pete. We got the Raw Women's Championship is on the line. Rhea Ripley will defend the title in a triple threat match against the former champion Asuka and the opportunity, Charlotte Flair. This one has been building ever since WrestleMania, where Rhea defeated Asuka to win the Raw Women's Championship. Charlotte Flair came back the Raw after Mania and called herself the opportunity. Very upset that she wasn't on the WrestleMania card. She interrupted the rematch between Rhea and Asuka, and then got herself suspended when she snapped after attacking a referee following a loss to Asuka in the main event of Raw a couple of weeks ago. She then was lifted from her suspension the following week by not Raw general manager assistant Sonya Deville, and then she was then put into this matchup by not Raw general manager assistant Sonya Deville 2 weeks ago, and she interfered in a Rhea versus Asuka match this past Monday on Monday Night Raw, which Rhea Ripley wound up winning. So who wins this one? Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair, and I know logically none of us are going to pick Asuka because WWE doesn't care about her.
That's absolutely correct. Also, when you were just recapping everything that happened, I thought you might have been talking about the build to WrestleMania 35 with Charlotte gets suspended and then the next week she's not, and she gets included into a match by an authority figure and then she's involved in it and then she's... Yeah. Anyway, I am worried for Rhea's reign on this one because I think it's too soon for her to lose it, but also it's Charlotte, and you can never count out Charlotte with the whole new properly heel gimmick she's got now, but being the opportunity and getting suspended and coming back. The story focus has been all about Charlotte, and I think this is either going to go one or two ways, in that either Rhea's going to pin Asuka, so Charlotte can say, I was never part of the decision, and then she can go on and have a feud with Rhea at Money in the Bank or SummerSlam or whenever down the line, or Charlotte's just going to win. And I genuinely can't pick between them, between Rhea retaining but not having Charlotte involved, or Charlotte just winning. And either way, I think they're going to get the pin or submission on Asuka, because it's Asuka and WWE don't care about her.
It's so sad. It Asuka is like probably my favorite of all the women on Monday Night Raw, and it's just so sad to the point that even Batista is upset about it. Batista making comments about WWE basically just putting Asuka on the back burner, using her as basically a tool in the feud that seems to be building between Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. I do 100% agree with you. It's either going to be Rhea or Charlotte winning here. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Rhea Ripley retains at WrestleMania Backlash. But she's definitely getting the pin on Asuka. It won't be on Charlotte. And we've been hearing a lot of conflicting reports from Thunderdome fans that some weeks they tell the fans to boo Rhea Ripley. Some weeks they tell the fans to cheer Rhea Ripley. So I have a very important question for you, Pete. Is Rhea Ripley a babyface or a heel?
She's Schrodinger's wrestler. We don't know. She's both at the same time. I think she's a heel. She was teaming with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler.
That's true.
She's a heel, right?
Yes.
Maybe. For the sake of difference as well, I'm going to predict Charlotte to win. That's going to be I'm locking it in. Charlotte's going to win. And also, another reason why they might have Charlotte win here is because the plans for the Raw Women's Championship were so up in the air going into WrestleMania, with it being like, Elimination Chamber, Lacey Evans is going to beat Asuka, and then it's going to be Lacey versus Charlotte at WrestleMania. But then Lacey got pregnant, so then it was going to be Charlotte versus Asuka. Probably Charlotte was going to win, but then Charlotte got taken out of WrestleMania, so then it was Rhea Ripley versus Asuka. So now they might just be getting to the point they wanted to get to at WrestleMania with just Charlotte as the champion, and maybe they've just done it here instead of at Mania because she wasn't on the card. So maybe instead of extending a feud down the line, they're just going to have Charlotte win now.
And they can always say Charlotte Flair won the Raw Women's Championship at WrestleMania. Backlash. So they will complete the plan that they had all along. I like your thinking.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm gonna stick with Rhea Ripley. It just would just kill her reign altogether, which has been lackluster to say the least. But for her sake, I think that we need Rhea Ripley to win here. And speaking of for Pete's sake, John Elite says unify the tag division for Pete's sake. No pun intended. I think the pun was intended though. We got
and yes.
we got predicting that Rhea Ripley wins the SmackDown and then the Raw Women's Championship. We also got John Elite agreeing that Rhea to retain the title. But what if Alexa does some voodoo magic on Charlotte? What was your thoughts on Alexa Bliss possessing the legs of Shayna Baszler to have her get a cramp, leading to Asuka getting the pinfall victory on her on Monday Night Raw this week?
That's an actual sentence. That's a real sentence that you just said to me.
Yes, it
is. My thoughts were, and that's genuinely like the sum total of everything I felt about this, because I don't like it. It's not for me. The whole supernatural stuff, that's not why I liked The Fiend as a character, was not the supernatural stuff. It was the whole psychological aspect of him and how he's taken his entire lore that he has as Bray Wyatt and, actually used that as storyline fuel to become The Fiend. And that was what was interested in it. And then they went, nah, spooky. And then it was, just some other dude who does some magic stuff. And now they've just taken that and just gone, and now we're just going to do that, but on Alexa, and it's rubbish. Yeah, I'm not a fan, really. Yeah. Sorry to everyone that likes it, but it's not for me.
There's going to be some fans that watch this on demand and put in the comments section, but you like The Undertaker, you liked Papa Shango. No, I did not like any of the spooky stuff not Papa Shango for sure. I didn't like Papa Shango possessing Ultimate Warrior in 1992. And I don't like Alexa Bliss possessing the legs of all people, matter of fact, Shayna Baszler. Like,
oh God, yeah.
Could it be Nia? Like, what do you see? A good question though. What do you see next for Alexa Bliss? Do you see her possessing Shayna Baszler's legs, leading to possibly her and Lily going for the women's tag team championships? Or
don't.
You know they're thinking about it, Pete.
Of course they are. Of course they are. God, why would you? Oh no.
I put it out there. Yes, I'm sorry.
Don't do this to me.
I'm sorry. At least you don't review it on the WrestleTalk podcast.
yeah, exactly. That's the big plus right there. I don't know what's next for Alexa, honestly. Maybe if Charlotte does win, maybe Alexa can have a feud with Rhea Ripley. It would make me really sad that she'd have to do some voodoo on Rhea's legs, and it would be super weird. But if they're gonna do something with Alexa, at least make it mean something. At least make it important and impactful, and having that against Rhea would be a good way to not have Rhea have an automatic rematch against Charlotte, and then Alexa could use that. Or maybe Alexa goes after Asuka, and then Rhea does go with Charlotte. Whatever she's doing in the women's tag division, though, she probably shouldn't be doing it, because the women's tag division is not very good.
No, it's not. So I could totally see it being Lily and Alexa as the next challengers, because that's kind of the trajectory we're going with the women's tag team division at this point. I
hate all of that, by the way. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. We got Jose Gonzalez in the comments on Facebook, says, "What's up, SP3? Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, sir." And we got Gregory Taylor saying, "To be honest, Alexa Bliss and WWE killed the Fiend Bray Wyatt, and now the Fiend Bray Wyatt is weak and nobody knows where he is." I've been hearing some reports about why Bray Wyatt has been off of TV. There's been some speculation that he's like not mentally all there due to the passing of Brody Lee a couple of months ago. We're to not really talk about that because we don't know for sure yet, but to talk about the Fiend Bray Wyatt as a character, what do you think WWE can do to like bring him back and get some momentum behind the character again?
Ooh, it's rough to say, because I think there's been quite a few times during the Fiend's run where you've gone, okay, well, that's it for the Fiend then, so he's done. And then he comes back and he does something and you're like, oh, no, there's some life in there. There's something to this Fiend character still. There's still something there. So I never want to write anyone off, because in the weird world of wrestling, all you need is one really cool thing to happen, and you go, oh, I'm into this character again. So I don't think there's anyone that is completely just dead and buried, gone, and you can't do anything with forevermore. And there's definitely scope for Bray Wyatt, being as creative a man as he is, to do something that will instantly just get me hooked again. Do another Firefly Funhouse match, because that was an absolute masterpiece. Just do another one of them, and I'll be like, yeah, okay, I'm back on board again. This is great. Yeah, there's definitely scope. I don't know what it would be necessarily, because I'm not Bray Wyatt. I don't have the creative mind that he does. But there's definitely scope for him to do something and make it mean something.
Yeah, I think my biggest disappointment overall from WrestleMania 2 nights, which were pretty good overall, was the fact that we didn't get the Firefly Funhouse with Randy Orton and Bray Wyatt, because of all the stuff we know about Orton's history. Like, that was just there for WWE, and they just avoided it. It's disappointing that we didn't get that. But I agree, Firefly Funhouse match may be the only thing to get fans back on board of the Fiend Bray Wyatt character.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, Pete, we get to what we do agree is the main event of this card for the WWE Universal Championship. Roman Reigns will go up against the Swiss Superman, Cesaro. Cesaro got the victory at WrestleMania over Seth Rollins. Of course, Roman Reigns, stacked him, pinned him, and put to rest Daniel Bryan and Edge in the main event of WrestleMania 37 Night 2. He then has banished Daniel Bryan from SmackDown with the victory a couple of weeks ago, which it ended with him giving a concerto to Daniel Bryan right in front of his good friend Cesaro. Cesaro then defeated Seth Rollins this past week on the Throwback SmackDown to gain this opportunity against Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship. He's kind of been in the mix of this whole family drama with Jimmy Uso returning this past week as well. Jimmy not getting on board immediately with Jay, Roman, and Paul Heyman, kind of telling him that he doesn't want Roman to speak to him like he's been speaking to his brother Jay. And Jimmy actually came to save Jay after Cesaro got the upper hand on them to end the show. But Cesaro winded up laying out all of the bloodline, both Usos and Roman Reigns, to end this past week's SmackDown. So he's looking strong heading into this Sunday. So who wins? Roman Reigns going one-on-one with Cesaro, which should be a banger, Pete.
Oh, it should be, shouldn't it? Goodness me. I'm so interested in this match in particular. Not necessarily because I don't think Cesaro's winning. There is a small part of me that thinks there's a possibility, but I don't think he is. For a couple reasons. In that, I don't know if WWE cares about Cesaro enough now that Daniel Bryan's not there, because Daniel Bryan is Cesaro's biggest advocate. That was the whole reason that Cesaro is being positioned like this, was Daniel Bryan was really pushing for him, and WWE, to their credit, listened to Bryan talking sense and, gave Cesaro the big WrestleMania victory over Seth Rollins, and they've been treating him really well on SmackDown as of late, and the story's been building very organically and really, really well for Cesaro. I've been mentioning this on the SmackDown podcast as well, in that I would have thought, with the way they were treating Cesaro, it looked like they were either going to have him challenge down the line and be the one to beat Roman at like SummerSlam or something like that, or he was going to challenge now and he's going to lose, because that would be the more logical thing for me. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to like bury Cesaro or anything like that. I don't necessarily think this is the end of his kind of main event push, so to speak. But I think with all the pieces in the story, Cesaro's kind of got lost a little bit with all the drama between Roman and Jay and Jimmy, and Daniel Bryan getting banished and all that stuff. Cesaro's kind of been like, oh, and he's also there, kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, he's been awesome this whole time. Like, he's put on really great matches, and like, he looked awesome at the tail end of last week's SmackDown. Taking out all three of them was really, really cool. I just think it would make the most sense for Reigns to beat Cesaro, and then maybe Cesaro organically gets built up again. He's like, Daniel Bryan was always pushing for me to have this title shot. I thought I was ready, and I wasn't. I'm just going to keep working on me. I'm just going to keep getting better and better. And then maybe at SummerSlam, he challenges again. He doesn't challenge again at Money in the Bank or whatever the July one is. but then he challenges again at SummerSlam. And that's when he can finally kind of overcome and all that stuff. And then there's the whole drama with Jimmy Uso, which I don't even know what's going to happen with any of that, because there's like 17 million different directions they could take with it. And I don't know which one they're going to do. And I'll probably be happy with any. So, yeah, there's a lot of this, but I think Reigns is going to win.
I do agree with you. Roman Reigns to get the victory here, but I just feel like this is going to be a star-making performance for Cesaro. Roman Reigns is honestly the wrestler of the year so far in 2021. When you look at his resume of great matches, whether it was against Kevin Owens in the Last Man Standing match at Royal Rumble, the great main event of Fastlane against Danny O'Brien, the 2 weeks ago Smackdown, which was one of the best TV matches of the year against Danny O'Brien, the main event of WrestleMania 37, and now you got this match. Like, he has all the makings of what will be a wrestler of the year type of campaign, and then on top of that, he's on the character peak of his career. He's great on the mic. Everything is clicking for Roman Reigns at this point, but you could say the similar thing for Cesaro. This is like the most momentum that he's had in WWE. He just had his first singles match at WrestleMania, his first singles victory at WrestleMania against Seth Rollins, beating a former WWE and Universal Champion. And I just feel like he's going to come very close. He may get screwed by the Usos, but I feel like he needs a big victory following this. And I think that he is my odds-on favorite next month to win Money in the Bank. And I just feel like that would be like the big moment for Cesaro. I don't think it's going to happen here, but Money in the Bank is something that I could see him winning.
Yeah, that's genuinely a great shout. And I think if they're going to build off this Cesaro character a little bit more, a great thing for him. I never normally like it when they do this, but I think it would work for Cesaro's character if he wins Money in the Bank and he doesn't do a sneaky cash in. And he says, like, to Reigns or whatever, he's like, I'm going to challenge you next week, just so you know.
Like that.
Get ready for it, but I will beat you, kind of thing. And maybe he actually does. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's just the Cesaro fan within me, just taking over for a bit and just being like, I just want to see him win. But then, yeah, but the other part of this match, though, is the whole Jimmy Uso stuff, because I don't know what they're going to do with it, because I saw Jimmy come back on SmackDown, and after the initial segment, when he came back and he was getting along with everyone, he was like, "Hey, I'm here, I'm back, I'm cool, let's do this," kind of thing. And then almost instantly, he failed to make a difference in the match against Cesaro and Seth Rollins, and I was so ready to be mad about it that I was like, "How can you waste Jimmy Uso's comeback like this?" And then the rest of the episode happened, and I was like, man, I'm so wrong. This is the greatest thing ever. That whole drama between them and Jimmy not getting along and Jay trying to convince him to be on side and him going back and technically helping Roman, though he didn't. He just kind of helped Jay because he was the one that was getting beaten up. It's such an interesting dynamic. And my only worry about this is that Cesaro is going to get completely lost in the story. If the match revolves around Jimmy Uso and whether he's going to do anything or not, I hope that it still is the star-making performance for Cesaro, because there is a worry that he could just get completely lost in all the other wrestling drama going on around him, which is why I wouldn't mind him losing here to then rebuild, maybe get Money in the Bank, or maybe rebuild himself after to have a proper one-on-one match against Reigns down the line. I don't think I'd be too mad if this one was the kind of the drama-filled, what's Jimmy gonna do one. But if Jimmy joins them, interesting. Why? How's that gonna play out? If Jimmy doesn't join them, maybe he's not actively against Reigns, but he comes out and doesn't help when he should, or he helps too late, or I don't know. I don't know what any of it means. I don't know. And whatever happens, I'm going to want to know how Jay's going to react to it. I want to know how Heyman's going to react to it. I want to know how Reigns is going to react to it. And anything that happens with it is probably going to make me want to tune into SmackDown the next week. And really, that's what it's all about. It makes me want to keep watching. And that's what's great about this whole story. It's so good.
And we talked about it before we went live here. This is going on 9 months. 9 months of this being the most interesting thing, the most compelling storyline that WWE has produced. in I don't know how long. What was the last time that WWE the last time that WWE had this long of a storyline? It was by accident. The Authority versus Daniel Bryan. I think that's a long time that they had like this long form of a story, and this is done on purpose. So it's like mind-boggling that the same company that books this and the same head of direction, Bruce Pritchard, is in charge of this as well as Monday Night Raw. This is just completely mind-boggling and shocking to me.
Yeah, it's baffling in a really good way. Like, I want to be baffled like this more, where WWE brings out some really great stuff, and I'm like, wow, what the hell, guys? This is great. I need more of it. I think the only other comparable long-term story they've done, and I don't think it is comparable, is John Cena versus The Rock from WrestleMania 27 to 28, not including 29 because that's cheating. Twice in a lifetime shouldn't have happened. No. And they did book that story for a year, but it wasn't consistent. It was like every couple of months is like, oh, and here's a little Rock thing, just to keep that plate spinning a little bit more. This is a consistent character that has been on screen every single SmackDown since SummerSlam last year when he came back. He's been this character, been getting better and better, had really incredible stories from SummerSlam to now. Man, I can't wait for SummerSlam this year because I feel like that is going to be a massive show for Reigns. Either that's going to be where his title reign comes to an end, or it will be like a huge match against someone big that they've built up for ages, and it will be like 1 year of Roman Reigns on top of the division. Granted, he won it at whatever Payback, the one that was the week after SummerSlam.
Yeah.
But like SummerSlam was his return. That was the mark of Roman Reigns is back on SmackDown was SummerSlam, and I think that is going to become the Roman Reigns show. If for years down the line, I want them to make SummerSlam that he is Mr. SummerSlam. That is Roman Reigns' thing. And I want them to reference that this year, and I want them to build to a really big match, whatever it may be. And I want Reigns to be an absolute megastar coming out of it, like he isn't already. But you know what I mean.
And it's the same show he beat in 2018. He beat Brock Lesnar to win the Universal Championship the first time. And speaking of which, we got Gregory Taylor saying, I'm hoping Brock Lesnar comes back so he could fight Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns. Also, does Brock Lesnar know that Paul Heyman with Roman Reigns? That would be very, very interesting. Could we see a Brock Lesnar return at SummerSlam, maybe?
Oh, can you imagine a year later after Roman Reigns comes back, Brock Lesnar comes back and Paul Heyman turns on Roman Reigns? There's so much. Oh man, there's so much to this. There's so many layers. Give me more of it.
So many directions to go with this.
Yeah.
We got John Elite saying, I think Jimmy inadvertently cost Roman the match, but Roman still retained.
Ooh.
That could
be
interesting. And then we can go into maybe at Money in the Bank, Jimmy versus Roman. We saw what he did with Jay. We haven't seen Jimmy versus Roman.
See, I want there to be Jimmy versus Roman, but what I want first is Jimmy versus Jay. And I want Roman to set that up and be like, and Jimmy to be really annoyed at Roman. And Roman's like, yeah, you can totally have a match if you can beat Jay first. And he puts brother against brother, and neither of them want to do it. But Jay's like, man, I'm just following orders. I've got to do what I've got to do. And Jimmy's like, I don't want to hurt you. You're my brother. Why is Roman doing this to you? This is really stupid. But then they fight anyway, and it's going to be really emotional, and it's going to be great. And I want it. I want it real bad.
WWE, just watch our previews. We're setting months up of material for you guys.
Yeah.
We also got Pratik saying Roman Reigns wins the Universal Championship. Where is Parker Bordeaux? Is he coming to WWE challenge Roman Reigns? We talked about Brock Lesnar, and we got to talk about young Brock Lesnar and Parker Bordeaux. Do you see him showing up in WWE this year, Pete?
Not on the main roster. I don't think so. I could see him being on NXT, maybe. Maybe he'd have, I think, a very brief run on NXT, maybe just to get him used to camera work and, actually just working in front of a crowd and things like that. Because obviously he's very new to the whole wrestling thing, and I'm sure he's got an abundance of talent, much like Brock Lesnar did. But I think give him the little amount of experience he needs, just in terms of like the basic things that you need to do when you're actually performing live on a show. Then maybe ship him off Doesn't have to win the NXT title, doesn't have to do anything like that. He's just got to come in, have a good few matches, be really dominant, and then he can get shipped up to the main roster and be like, here's this big guy. Whoa, what a crazy thing. But I don't see him coming for Reigns anytime soon anyway.
Yeah, I think that would be too soon, too much too soon for him. And I don't think WWE is in the business of doing that right now, especially with people that are under 25 years old, because they very much come few and far between on the main roster for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But that brings us to an end on our WrestleMania Backlash preview. Pete, thank you so much for joining us this time, talking about all the matches, talk about everything going on in WWE. Please let the people know where they could find you on social media, where they could find the WrestleTalk podcast, as well as anything else you got going on, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, my Twitter is at Pete Quinnell over there, where I tweet about a bit of wrestling, bit of D&D, stuff like that. That's my other big passion. Yeah, I'm a presenter for WrestleTalk and for WrestleTalk podcast. We have a separate YouTube channel for that, so where we review all the weekly shows. I'm on the NXT and Smackdown podcast with Tempest, the wrestler. Where we review both those shows. And personally as well, just outside of the wrestling stuff, I've also got my own YouTube channel called Warcaster, where I do a bunch of D&D videos. I've actually got a video going on live on that channel in 5 minutes. For fans of Critical Role, anyone that may watch Critical Role out there, there's some stuff on there for you. So yeah, that's me. That's what I got going on. And also Pete Quinnell on Instagram, if you want to see selfies and other things.
I love it. I love it, P. You're doing a bunch of great stuff, whether it's D&D or wrestling. Definitely check out his video on Warcaster YouTube channel going up. He already told me a little bit about it. It's a must watch. It's a must watch. Definitely gonna bring a smile to your face. You could also, if you're into D&D, check that out. If you're into more wrestling, go over to the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. We're going up in about 5-10 minutes with our review of Dark Side of the Ring Nick Gage episode, which was a really interesting one. We're going to talk about all of that. If you watch Dark Side of the Ring, definitely check that out. We're going to be going live in about 10 minutes. And you can check us out tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. BST with Joe Hilbert of Fightful Wrestling with the True Heel Heat weekly podcast, True Heel Heat 125. We're going to be also talking about WrestleMania Backlash, talking about Selena Vega coming back to WWE, and much, much more. So thank you once again to Pete Quinnell. He is great. Go check him out. WrestleTalk podcast, Warcaster. This has been the Sports Key to Wrestling WWE WrestleMania Backlash Preview. We are signing off until next month with Money in the Bank, or in a few weeks actually with Double or Nothing. Until next time, y'all. Later. Have a good one.